of Arturo Toscanini is of the end of 1912, during a wonderful performance of Debussy's La Mer, when I remain fascinated. It was just like magic. From him I had a brightening revelation of Stravinsky Petrushka in 1960, and since then, from time to time, I was always at his concerts in Rome at the Augusteo. But only in 1918 I had the great pleasure of meeting him personally just before my marriage with Ottorino Respighi.
But Respighi had met Toscanini before that, much before.
Oh, yes. Respighi met Maestro Toscanini in Bologna many, many years before. I think about in 1905 or 6, when he played in the orchestra of the theater as first viola.
Toscanini became interested very early in Respighi's works, I understand.
Yes, very early. I remember an audition in 1970 for the opera written for the theater of the Little, the marionette.
Yes, the little puppets.
Yes, the little puppets. The name was The Sleeping Beauty. And I still remember the affectionate interest of the maestro. Respighi always hated to go through his works at the piano, and the audition of his works at the pianoforte are very rare. But that day, as soon as he started, he began to rush all the movement, and Toscanini, who had the exact sensation of music and movements with this great instinct, said, "Why do you run?" And Ottorino Respighi answered, "Because I am bored to death."
Which works of Respighi's were first performed by Maestro Toscanini?
I think he first performed in every part of Europe and America also. The Respighi's work, the first suite of Antiche Arie e Danze on 1920. Of the first performance, I will tell you another funny story.
Good, wonderful.
Of the first performance of the Fountains of Rome, conducted at the Augusteo by Antonio Guarnieri, very good conductor of that time, was not a very great success. And Respighi had the impression that the work was not at the right point of completion. So much that he took this course and put it in a drawer, leaving it for several months. But one day, Toscanini asked him a work for the concerts in Milano during February of 1918. And as Respighi had nothing ready, we took this course of the Fountains and sent it to the maestro. Of course, without going to Milano for the performance, as he was sure of a complete failure. But the day after the concert, he received a cable from the recording house, who congratulated him for the great success and asked him to print the symphonic poem. Only then Respighi went out and bought the copy of newspaper, the Corriere della Sera, that is the most important Italian newspaper, and was persuaded that the work was something to consider seriously, because even the critic Cesari, rather hard in any occasion to Respighi's music, said that its success had been exceptional. From then on, the Fountains went all over the world, and I can say Toscanini was their lucky godfather.
When did Maestro Respighi finally hear Toscanini play the Fountains of Rome?
I think it was in July 28, 1922, yes. Respighi finally enjoyed hearing his poem, conducted by Toscanini, at the Teatro del Popolo in Milano. And of that performance, Ottorino always kept a particular remembrance because that was the first time that he received from the audience such a lively and spontaneous demonstration of appreciation. We were just at the back of the theater, in the last row of the seats, and suddenly somebody indicated Respighi, and we saw the whole audience turn around and applaud him for several minutes, while Toscanini was smiling, enjoying himself in applauding also.
Do you remember particularly any other special performances by Toscanini of Respighi's works?
Oh, yes. Another unforgettable evening was the first performance of The Pines of Rome in the United States, conducted by Toscanini at Carnegie Hall in New York, when Toscanini returned to the stage after a long period of absence. Respighi and I just come from Philadelphia, where Respighi was guest conductor, to listen to the concert. There was great applause at each work conducted by Toscanini, and tremendous applause after Pines of Rome. Toscanini came to the podium many, many times to thank the audience, and I was going to leave my box when a great scream went up, and I turned back in the box. All the audience was standing, and Respighi, near Toscanini, was thanking the audience.
I understand that Maestro Toscanini requested Respighi to create an orchestration of the Bach Passacaglia especially for him.
In 1928, Toscanini asked Respighi to make the instrumentation of the Bach Passacaglia for his large tournée in Europe with the Philharmonic of New York. And I was at the Teatro Scala to attend the performance of this work. As soon as the maestro saw me, he said, "I do not know any composer other than Respighi at present who can write a score like this. It is really wonderful." During the same tournée, Toscanini included in many programs also the symphonic poem Roman Feast, and always with the most great success also.
So the personal relations of Toscanini and Respighi were very, very close. Can you tell us a little bit more about them?
I remember with a particular tenderness Toscanini's visit to our Villa Ipini in Rome, and his warm and cordial sympathy and friendship to Respighi. It was very sweet for me to see the two great men walking in the park and under the big trees, talking music and different scores.
Mrs. Respighi, what, in Ottorino Respighi's opinion, would you say, was the one thing, the one quality that made Maestro Toscanini so great a conductor?
I think that the quality admired the most in Maestro Toscanini by Respighi was the respect and fidelity that he had always for the composer.
And even after the death of Ottorino Respighi, you still remained in contact with Maestro Toscanini.
Oh, yes. Even I remained alone after Respighi's death. Toscanini showed a particular affection, a great esteem, and every time he comes to Rome, he used to come in my house and to have a Bolognese dishes called tortellini.
Ah, tortellini.
The best in the world, he said, used to say. I have a splendid memory of his last visit, when after dinner we sat at the piano and he went through the old score of Falstaff giving me a complete musical analysis of the opera. We were all too alone. Oh, if I had a recording machine as this, that would have been a document marvelous, really, for the musical interpretation of the Verdi's chef-d'oeuvre. Toscanini and Respighi. Now this name so dear to us has gone, and the only thing we have are these great recordings where we find together joined in a soul intention their minds and their spirits.
Our thanks to Mrs. Elsa Respighi, and thank you, Bern Meyer, for these moments spent with the widow of the man whose music we're playing,